The Bible Study Podcast, episode 133. Today, the Bible Study Podcast continues the study of Luke with Luke chapter 21. Welcome to the Bible Study Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Today we continue on with that last week of Jesus' ministry, Holy Week. We're already past Palm Sunday and heading towards Good Friday, and Jesus is teaching in the temple. Luke 21, the widow's offering. As he looked up, Jesus saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small coins. I tell you the truth, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she out of her poverty put in all she had to live on. I think the story here is that God is not as easily impressed as we are by wealth and by conspicuous giving. It's certainly something that he calls for us to do, is to give, not conspicuously. I believe we're supposed to give so that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. But this widow here has a generosity and has a trust in God that all of the rich people were lacking. She is putting her faith in God because she is giving God all that she has and not leaving back enough to rely on. There's a faith here that is instructional for us, and that's why Jesus points it out. And then the chapter goes on. Some of his disciples were remarking about how the temple was adorned with beautiful stones and with gifts dedicated to God. But Jesus said, as for what you see here, the time will come when not one stone will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down. Teacher, they asked, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are about to take place? He replied, watch out that you are not deceived, for many will come in my name, claiming I am he, and the time is near. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and revolutions, do not be frightened. These things must happen first, but the end will not come right away. Then he said to them, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they will lay hands on you and persecute you. They will deliver you to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors, and all on account of my name. This will result in your being witnesses to them. But make up your mind not to worry beforehand how you will defend yourselves, for I will give you words and wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. All men will hate you because of me. Not a hair of your head will perish. By standing firm, you will gain life. So Jesus is standing in the beautiful temple, and his disciples, some of whom are not from Jerusalem, they're from near the Sea of Galilee, they're Galileans. They don't see the temple on a daily basis, and so they're still awed by it. And as they're looking at it and marveling at it, Jesus tells them again, remember he told them on Palm Sunday, he paused before Jerusalem and said, not one stone will be left on another because you have rejected me on this day. So again, Jesus uses this opportunity to say, the destruction of the temple is coming. The destruction of Jerusalem is coming. And it's coming in the 70s AD. And so they ask him, when are these things going to take place? And he doesn't answer directly, but he says there will be all sorts of tumult that will happen. There'll be wars and rumors of wars and revolutions and earthquakes, all sorts of things going on. But then the most significant thing is, he says, and you will be persecuted. Now, remember, this is in a context that they don't even understand that he's going away or where he would be going to. And it's not clear exactly what's going to go on. But as we look at the disciples' response after Good Friday, remember that they've already been told they're going to be persecuted, delivered to synagogues and prisons. Witnesses, some of them are going to be killed. So they have some idea of what is coming. They just don't know a lot of the specifics. But it's interesting that it says, make up your mind beforehand not to worry how you will defend yourselves. For I will give you the words and the wisdom to speak, that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. If we were to read on in the second half of Luke's book, and I haven't decided whether we're going to do that yet or not, Luke wrote 2 books back to back, remember we talked about this, and the first is Luke and the second is Acts. And in Acts, we see some of these things played out. We see Peter and John before the Sanhedrin, and as they consult among themselves, they say, where is this wisdom coming from? Aren't these two fishermen, basically? How is it that they can speak in the way that they do? And this is the answer. Basically, that they have made up their mind ahead of time not to worry about what they will say, but God is speaking through them. Now, obviously, I don't think this means don't spend any time beforehand understanding the Scriptures, don't spend any time beforehand praying it. It's make up your mind not to worry about what you will say. And Jesus continues, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you will know its desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, let those in the city get out, let those in the country not enter the city, for this is the time of punishment in fulfillment of all that has been written. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. There will be great distress in the land and wrath against this people. They will fall by the sword and will be taken as prisoners to all the nations. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Men will faint from terror, apprehension of what is coming on the world, for the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. There's a little bit of confusion caused here. There's two different things going on for sure. One is, we see clearly that he's talking about Jerusalem being surrounded by armies and desolation. And I certainly interpret that as being the historical desolation of Jerusalem, which is the horrible thing that he describes here, how terrible for pregnant women in those days, the great distress, the wrath, and that people will be taken as prisoners to all the nations. This is, in fact, when the Jewish nation is spread throughout the known world. And so I look at that as a historic section here, or historic from our point of view, not yet from Luke's. Luke, I believe, would be writing a little bit before the destruction of Jerusalem. Luke finishes the book of Acts before Christianity becomes a persecuted religion, which happens before the Jewish war breaks out. And in the book of Acts, he ends with Paul in Rome, but there's no mention made of the Jewish-Roman war. And so this is, from Luke's point of view, slightly in the future. From our point of view, almost 2,000 years in the past. This second one, though, there will be signs in the sun and the moons and the stars. This may be talking about that time, but did you note that this time here is, at that time they will see the Son of Man in a cloud with power and great glory. Now that didn't happen in 74 AD. And so, certainly as I look at that next paragraph here, the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, I don't recall any recollection of that in the writings of Josephus, the Jewish historian who documents the Jewish-Roman war, who is a Jewish general who is captured by the Romans and then goes with them for the rest of the time period and documents that. I don't recall any mention of this, and so I think at this point we are now looking in our future, as well as in Luke's, at a coming again of Jesus. And the only thing that we see here is that it again is a time of tumult. Heavenly bodies shaken, terror, apprehension, does not sound like a fun time. And so it appears that Jesus has taken two different time periods and kind of mushed them together here. And we can understand why there was confusion then in the early church. When was Jesus coming back? He told them he was going to come back, and he told them some of these things were going to happen, but he did not tell them when. In fact, he specifically told them that no one will know the day or the hour. He told them this parable, "Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happen, you know that the kingdom of God is near. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Be careful, or your hearts will be weighed down with dissipation, drunkenness, and anxieties of life, and that day will close on you unexpectedly like a trap, for it will come upon those who live on the face of the whole earth. Be always on watch, and pray that you may be able to escape all that is about to happen, that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. Each day Jesus was teaching at the temple, and each evening he went out to spend the night on the hill called the Mount of Olives, and all the people came early in the morning to hear him at the temple. Now again, there's some confusion. There's certainly portions of this generation that he's talking to here did not pass away until the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple. But so far as I have seen, Jesus has not yet come back. So there's some confusion caused by those words. But the clear message here is, be careful, that day is going to come unexpectedly like a trap. Be watchful and pray. With that, we're going to bring to an end this episode of the Bible Study Podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them at thebiblestudypodcast.com or drop me an email at host@thebiblestudypodcast.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.